Walk right into it.
Yep.
Okay, so I've got it pulled up. Let me share the screen. It was so funny because before you emailed me, I was scrolling through YouTube and this video came up on my feed. I guess because
Ah,
I watch your videos all the time. So,
yeah, funny. I noticed because as I load them up on YouTube, I'm kind of thinking, well, no one's ever going to look. No one knows me, thank goodness. And I looked back on the other day, and there's been like 43 views on one of my videos. I'm thinking, how embarrassing!
no, it's
I don't
really
want the world to see me. How embarrassing! Maybe I need to hide them.
no, and if you want to keep them private, we can. It's never a problem. I just
Yeah. Oh, it's
upload.
not so much your group because you share them. I mean, I know that obviously you share them on YouTube, but they purposely won't be looking. I don't know what I was thinking actually, but anyway, doesn't matter.
Well, if I have your permission, I post them on my YouTube channel, and I have
Yeah,
a little over 500 followers, so people will watch. And then if you
yeah,
don't want it out in public, I upload it to a totally different format, and then I only
yeah,
share it with our group, the Wexford student group. So it's totally up to you which
yeah.
way you want to go.
No, that's fine. I don't mind it shared under from you because they're not going to know me. They're not going to know my name. But then when they find me on my name, it's like, oh dear, they know me.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, it's all fun.
Yeah. Okay, so, oops, and Lily wants to join the meeting. Um, so far he's forward on the circle. So how's that going?
This is probably, so this was Wednesday night or evening, and
Hmm.
this is probably the best he's gone so far. I mean, I know it's not perfect. We have a long way to go, but he he was more forward than probably any other time, like a lot less times of stopping and yeah.
Excellent.
So yeah, we only did 20 minutes because he at the end he does start to kind of stop a lot.
Hmm.
Um, and I think my phone was just about to run out of battery, so I stopped it then.
My cat is like, pet me, pet me. Um, so you just started right off on a circle to the left. Because
Yeah,
I don't see tracks like you went around the arena straight. It looks like you kind of went straight to the circle with him.
yeah, yeah, which is what I try to do now pretty well.
That is awesome. Because this is difficult for all horses. When you work from the inside on the long reins, no matter what path of travel you're on, the way the long reins work is it levels off and stabilizes the pelvic bones and the lumbar first. And
Yeah.
so it addresses the spinal function of rotation and kind of lateral pelvic engagement. And then depending on the size circle you're doing, it the circle itself with a level pelvis is going to cause the hind legs to reach farther towards the center of the body. So you're kind of
Hmm.
increasing the forward placement of the hind legs, which is how you stabilize engagement. So the circle is what sort of helps them place the hind legs deeper towards the center of their body, but the long reins
Hmm.
are acting to keep the pelvis level left to right. And then the
Yeah.
circle is sort of bringing the hind legs forward.
Yeah. So a perfectly balanced horse that wasn't lame at all, would they be going around on this circle looking perfect, as in moving normal,
Not
walk, trot,
stopping.
canter? Yeah, not stopping.
Hmm. Yeah, so I have a
Okay.
horse on my YouTube channel, the videos with Rarely Wrong. Um,
Hmm.
it's like I show a training video as I go through, and I think I'm up to about 13 or 14 videos with her. But for the
Yeah.
past 7 months, she's been doing this on the long reins, and her problem was going too fast. And
Right.
the long reins on the circle really challenge the horse's engagement as well as their straightness. And so it has a really it works especially well on horses that won't slow down. Those are
Yeah, I bet.
the easiest ones to work with. And the ones that stop
Yeah.
all the time with both of your guys, we've had to build up from straight lines to circles. But
Hmm.
even the horse I have here that has almost zero forward, oh, he had so many physical issues, lameness issues, that he just hardly wanted to move, kind of like Pablo. And
Yeah.
his name is Hercules. But with
Yeah.
Hercules, this has been the work I've done with him the most, big circles and small circles. And he stays forward the entire time. He doesn't stop. He started off a lot like Pablo, but
Yeah.
actually now, as I'm working on trot work with him, um, it even surprised me, but his best trot work has been on the long reins, on a circle that's maybe about 10 meters. It's not,
Wow.
yeah, it's a very small circle. And that's where
Wow.
he gets engaged enough to actually hold the trot and have a decent trot. So it,
Yeah. Wow.
because he needed the engagement in order to trot. And when I would put him on a big circle, he would take two steps or it'd be a really shuffly trot. It wasn't very good. And
Hmm.
when I made the circle smaller, he suddenly had a decent looking trot. So that's where we've been working. And
Yeah.
then Rafalco, who really couldn't canter, he either bolted or he would just give you one stride. He had nothing in between. And
Hmm.
cantering him on the long reins has helped him stabilize his canter quite a bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
So this is where we hopefully will progress to, yeah?
Yeah,
So
this
when
will
we get
actually,
walking a bit more.
well, I'm excited because you can't work on the circles if they won't go forward.
Mm.
And with Pablo and probably with Stitch, the beginning work on even kind of an imperfect shaped circle with you walking with him, he's still
Hmm.
stopping. He's still stopping a lot, so it takes a lot of patience, but it's doable for him.
Hmm.
And as soon as it's doable, this particular exercise for both of your horses, the benefits it has is you're helping them get straight and engaged simultaneously. That's
Yeah.
why it's difficult for them. But when they get good at it, like the next evolution for him will be no stopping, believe it or not.
Mm.
And he's getting close to
Yeah.
that.
I'm waiting for the day.
Yeah, yeah. And so
Yes.
already the fact that he's maintaining forward kind of as well as he is without having to resort back to the straight lines is a big improvement. Because
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
hard for him, but he's comfortable enough to give it a go. And
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
only keeps getting better from here. And so the
Hmm.
easier it gets, the easier it gets. But
Yeah.
it's a lot of times, like for him and for Stitch, this is the fastest way to teach them how to not overload their front legs so much, how to start using their back and hindquarters like in Stitch's case, to control his speed when he gets excited, and for Pablo
Mm.
to be comfortable moving forward.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm pretty excited. How is he behaving?
Yeah, pretty good actually. So I think I told you the other day that or a while ago that when I put the saddle pad on him now, I give him a little treat. So it's kind of changed his mindset about that because he was really narky. So then I also now use that for when I brush him and when I put the rug on. So now he's more excited about the treat coming rather than being in his pissy mood.
Oh,
Um,
excellent.
I just I just need to be careful because he gets so excited about treats, not to turn him into a land crocodile. Do you know what I mean? Like it's a
Yes.
balancing act, isn't it? Between because he's very food motivated. So in the perfect world, I'd be able to find a treat that's about the size of an apple, that's not not too delicious, like just a semi-okay treat. I don't know if there's one out there, but haven't found it yet.
Yeah.
Something that's big enough so he can chomp away on it without looking for the next one.
In
Anyway.
Europe, some of the barns I would go to in Europe, they would take their old bread and they would let the bread
Oh.
dry and and
Oh.
and give them stale, dry, crusty bread as a horse treat. And I had never
That's
thought
an
of that,
idea.
but that
Because
sounds
that'd
like,
be okay for horses, wouldn't it? Bread?
yeah,
I presume so.
I never thought of feeding horses bread, but one barn I went
Yeah.
to, I think it was in Austria, and when I walked in, all the horses had these little wire baskets in front of their stalls, and people would bring their bread every day and throw the old bread in there to dry out.
Oh,
And
okay. I
yeah,
could have a loaf of bread in my pocket.
yeah. And I think it might need to be like fully dry, not chewy at all.
Ah, yeah,
Um,
okay.
but I think dry bread might be okay,
Yeah.
and they would kind of chew on that.
Maybe I could make something and anyway, okay. Yeah, good idea.
Yeah, and there's
Um,
lots of people that make horse treats, and maybe even
yeah.
something like a graham cracker. I mean, I don't know if horses can eat graham crackers, but I don't see why not.
Yeah, yeah, something that's kind of big enough because it's hard at the moment. The treats I've got, I don't know, they say they're about that big, but he gets so excited. I actually have to put it in a feed bin for him, otherwise he'd take my hand off
Mm,
because he just chomp like gets really over the top about it.
yeah.
But it's helping as far as because I think a lot of his, I could be wrong, I don't know, it's memory. He doesn't like being brushed, he doesn't like having his rugs on. And the minute I go to do it, he pins his ears, threatens, he lifts his leg up. So I
Hmm.
don't want to push him to the point where, and it scares me a bit. I don't want to put my head down near the back end of him and he kicks out.
Right. And
Yeah, I mean, he probably wouldn't. I don't know, but
did we talk about that strategy? Because if he gets kind of aggressive and really excited with treats, did we talk about how to work with that by flooding him with treats?
yes,
Okay.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Because
yeah.
that's the
I have
other,
done a bit of, I'll say,
you kind of make a special event out of it. So like you can have the
yeah,
bareback pad there or the rug there or something or the brushes. But when you
yeah,
go to, if you hand feed him a treat and he gets that excited, bring a bucket of like carrot slices, apple slices, something, or your regular treats, but like a big bag of it, and just shove treat after treat after treat after treat in his face until he starts to relax. And what'll
yeah,
happen
yeah.
is it'll reduce the aggression around the treats.
Yeah, yeah. He's not too bad at the moment. I can just see his level of excitement getting, he loves it. I have
Mhm.
done positive reinforcement before. I was doing that for a while ago, and I started the worst possible way you can. I had bits of carrot cut up, and I obviously wasn't flooding him enough, and he just lost his mind altogether because the carrots were just blew him away. So he got
Yeah.
quite, yeah, he got quite not, well, maybe a little bit aggressive actually, yeah, but it's like, just give me the treat, woman. Stop messing about. And yeah, so he'd try and mug me but he's quite good now. He knows not to turn his head, like he'll stand there. But then when I put my hand forward with a treat, if he's been waiting for a while, it's like chomp.
Mm.
So yeah,
Yeah.
I need to just have the volume increase. That's why I'm thinking a nice big treat would be good because he can then be chewing it while
Yes.
I don't have to worry about my hand being taken off in the meantime and he'll take a while to chew it up. So yeah, I might look into that. I might bake something for them.
Yeah, I think there's even horse treat recipes online or something that you can make
Hmm.
like cookies. Um,
Yeah, can't be too hard, surely.
so he was kind of motoring along there really well for a while. So he stopped a few times in the beginning, then he motors a little bit and he keeps the forward going. Then he stops a few times. But yeah, you can kind of feel when you're working with him that as he lengthens his neck on the circle, uh, he may stop because he's falling in. So you can give him a little bit more support with the outside rein. If he starts to slow down or stop, don't be shy
Mm-hmm.
with the outside rein because as he lengthens that
Yeah.
neck, he's going to feel a little unstable without the muscle tension, and they can tend to stop.
Mm-hmm.
Even the fast horses stop at first when they do that. So
Yeah. Yeah.
sometimes the feel on the long reins is quite substantial when they're first walking in long and low on a circle. It can be pretty heavy. Or if they're really unstable and the neck is bent to the outside, that's because the hindquarter is very unstable, and the reins can get
Yeah.
a bit heavy in that case as well. But I
Yeah.
think of it like just a strong kind of spotting him, like training wheels.
Mm.
And then
Yes.
they
Yeah.
get lighter and lighter, but sometimes the heaviness of your support can be helpful for them staying more forward. It
Yeah.
sounds it sounds a bit backwards. We tend to want to lighten the
Yeah. No, it makes
reins
sense.
to get him to
Yeah.
go
Yeah. It
forward,
makes sense.
but
Yeah.
so this is I'm impressed that he didn't need straight lines. You haven't had to go directly behind him. Your position is really good, that you're walking kind of in line with his hindquarters a little bit behind the tail because that's helping him stay
Mm-hmm.
forward. But the
Mm-hmm.
boy's pulling it together. Like
Yeah.
he's just looking so much like there's so much less movement across the top of his back and across the pelvis left to right. There's a good shot
Mm.
for us. So like from this angle, when he walks forward, that top across the pelvis, you can barely see it moving, which is what it should be doing. Instead of
Yeah.
this big roll side to side, you hardly see any
Yeah.
movement up there at all.
Yeah. So funny. Before I had started work with you, I thought that was a good thing.
I was told it was a
Stitch was
good thing.
really wobbly at the back end. And I thought, oh, that's probably good, is it? Like, God.
No, and I
Anyway.
was told that was a good thing, coming up through the years. So we don't know what we
Yeah.
don't know.
Okay, it's not just me. All
No,
right.
no, I
No.
think it like humans in general have a very hard time understanding horse balance.
Mm.
It doesn't come easy for humans to we can't relate to how they have to balance easily. We have to really
Yeah.
learn it to understand it.
Yeah. And I think a lot of it is there's just information overload and you just don't know what's correct and what's not.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just too much out there to know. Um,
And
yeah.
everybody's got an opinion.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. No, and I think it's funny because like my career before horses was with plants and it was a big epiphany to me at one point that when I was taking horticulture classes, if you get the soil right, so it was the first time I ever got interested in chemistry because if you get the soil right and you get sort of the pH, the drainage, the chemical components of the soil, the sunlight, if you get that part right, plants just thrive with very little
Mm.
maintenance. And it
Hmm.
it really kind of struck me. I think it stuck with me when I started working professionally with horses as I go, well, there's got to be a common denominator that makes horses move well.
Mm.
And that turned out to kind of be skeletal coordination. And then going back from there, it's more about physics. But I
Mm.
go when you get that part right, the horses thrive, just like if you get the soil right, the plant thrives.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
but a lot of us just go to the nursery, buy a plant, stick it in the ground, and cross our fingers. And that's
Yep.
it's kind of how we take on horse ownership a little bit the same way as we go buy a horse and
Oh,
cross our
totally.
fingers. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. You just think you're going to put the saddle on and off you ride, you know?
Yep. Into the
I
sunset.
thought.
hair
Yeah.
hair
I thought
flowing.
I'll be going on trail rides and I'll be going to shows and I'll be doing this and I'll be doing that. And have I done any? No.
Yeah. It's like
Here we are.
screech, tires squealy.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, the first horse I ever owned just, flattened my ego. And I was a teenager. So, and I had been already riding and kind of riding in advanced jumpers. And I get my first horse at 16. And boy, did I think I knew everything. I was 16
Yeah.
jumping. I
At
was,
16.
yeah. And then I get
Yeah.
this horse that's 30 days off the track, which I had no idea what that meant at the time. And
Oh.
he bucked me off so many rides, bolted with me across streets,
Oh.
through wire fences. We were out of control. And
Yeah.
he
You wonder how you survived.
well, because I was 16, I learned to fall off very skillfully because
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
can't count the number of times I went flying off that horse. But
Yeah.
he really humbled me. Let me see if I can. Yeah, there we go. And I couldn't. Oh no, this was the one before. Hang on. Hang on. We don't want that one. We don't want that one. Let me find the email again and click that link. YouTube
Hmm.
moves along on me too fast sometimes. Here we go.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it.
So, ironically, my first horse got me very interested in horse training because I had so many problems.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that's the good news, bad news when we have difficulties with our horses is we start our education at that point.
Yeah. Well, I think back now, so I had horses in my I had a really good horse actually through my teenage years. She was trained by someone else.
Hmm.
So that's probably why. And then I got some more horses in my 20s and they were uh there were issues. But obviously there wasn't the internet back then, so it was hard like trying to research things in books and whatnot and not having I didn't really have a trainer. I did have one lady, but that was more riding as opposed to horse training.
Hmm.
Um, and oh, they were shocking. I used to ride them out in the bush, but one would always bolt. So I'd often be bolting back home, passing traffic and buses, and so I wouldn't do that now. I'm thinking,
I
no way in
know.
heck would I be riding that horse. And then one I used to take to like an adult riders club, and we used to get kicked out of the lessons all the time because he'd be bucking and rearing, and he was a thoroughbred, and he was oh poor boy. I think he had some physical issues hugely, and
Yeah.
he just couldn't contain himself. And but I didn't know. I just thought he was being naughty, you know.
Yeah, and I kind of really loved my horse, and I had a big belief in him that he could be a great jumping horse. That was why I picked him out. And I took him to
Mm.
3 different local trainers at the time, and I was told, "You're a very good rider, dear. What you need is a better horse." And it just made me so mad. It,
Don't you
it,
say that about my horse?
I know it made me
Yeah.
so mad. And I ended up selling that horse. I got very frustrated and I got out of riding completely. And
Yeah.
I sold that horse to a friend of my dad's who could ride him. She had been riding him for about a year before she bought him, and she did very well with him. And she took that horse to like the Midwest circuit and won, jumping him.
Wow.
He turned out to be a fabulous horse. I just couldn't.
So you knew it, see?
I just
Yeah.
didn't know what
Yeah.
I was
It's
doing.
yeah. Yeah. It's all yeah. It's a journey, isn't it?
It really is. But I think
Mm.
that's why horses that are struggling have such a special place in my heart. Like, I just think
Yeah.
when we can figure them out, like even when you started with Pablo, thinking there would be nothing you could do with him. And he's
Yeah.
been a challenge. He was not going to be easy, no matter how you slice it or dice it. But to watch
Mm.
him slowly progress and slowly be able to do more and more, it really
Hmm.
feels good.
Yeah, yeah. I'm actually having, so you know how I said that I've changed, well, I've had another vet come up for stitch
Hmm.
for his laminitis. She's coming back next week and she's actually going to test Pablo
Right, you
with,
said for PSSM?
no, actually not. So I sent his hair follicle sample off myself for that. So we'll just
Okay.
see what that comes back with. But for insulin, just to see if, so um, back in, when was it, February time, he was a little bit laminitic. I
Hmm.
think it's because I put oat and hay in their paddock and they could just eat as much as I like and they just pigged out and I think that was the issue. Um, so he was then a bit sore and then that's when the vet put the shoes on and whatnot. So she suggested, why don't you just test him? She's going to do can't remember what she called it. They give him some glucose powder, and then it's all measured, and then a certain time frame, and then they
Hmm.
measure the bloods.
Yeah, we call it like a fasting glucose test or something like that.
Yeah, something
Yeah.
like that. Yep,
Hmm.
yep, yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's
Maybe it's a
excellent.
bit of an overkill. I don't know if I need to do it, but I'm thinking it's probably good to know if he does maybe have an issue. I don't
Well,
know.
with his whole history that you've described, all of it could have been sort of around that fracture in his right hind coffin bone. That could have been his major
Yeah.
issue, but there could have been other things compounding it, or there could have been other underlying issues that nobody knew
Mm,
about, like a metabolic
mm.
issue. And
Yeah.
so,
Yeah.
so I always think, I go, if it's reasonably priced diagnostic work, why not? Because
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
don't know. And
Yeah.
the numbers at least tell us. And if something happens, like the times I've regretted was not doing simple tests like insulin
Mm,
tests, metabolic panels, blood work,
yeah.
titers, that kind of thing. I go, why not
Yeah.
do? I don't want to go down the rabbit hole of the MRIs and the nuclear scintigraphies. Thank you
No.
very much.
No.
But I
No.
go, if it's something the vet can come and test and do diagnostic work on site, why
Yeah.
not do it?
Yeah, that's it. She's coming up here anyway to do another test on Stitch. She
Hmm.
wants to do the same test for Stitch because mainly when she came up last time, he came up really low in his insulin. So
Oh,
she's thinking,
interesting.
is it, yeah, so um, she doesn't feel like she's got to the bottom of it enough yet. So she wants to do this other test with the glucose and then the time frame because last time
Hmm.
it was his breakfast he had and
Right?
then a certain time frame and then took it. But yeah, she said it was just a bit, I mean it's good, but it was unusual that it come back low when he was so high. So yeah, anyway,
Yeah,
just
not
gonna
only that he was high, but it's like, his cresty neck and his ability to
mm,
pack some weight on that. Yeah, it doesn't make sense that it would be low. But
yeah,
that's
yeah.
I'm so happy you're working with her because she's not pumping you for doing unreasonable diagnostics, but it sounds
No,
like
no, no.
she's very pragmatic, that she's not sort of,
Yes,
she's
she
taking it
is. Yeah,
one step at a time and sort of getting to
yeah,
know each horse. And that's the
yeah,
best kind of vet is not to throw
yeah, yeah.
don't throw everything at the horse at once because then you have no idea what's really going on.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And the other good thing is that she works with that new farrier that I have.
Hmm.
Um, and yeah, they work really well together. And I think it's
That
going to be
is,
very helpful.
oh my God, that
Yeah.
is like winning the lottery when you get a good vet and farrier combo and they like
Yeah.
each other.
Yes. And he's really patient. I mean, he's a huge guy and he's tattooed all up to his neck and stuff. And I first saw him, I thought, oh, goodness me.
Yeah.
But he's just so patient and yeah, 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 he's great.
Oh, that's
So,
awesome.
mm,
Yeah, so the only thing I want to point out that I'm really happy to see, let me back it up just a little, just before he stops. As he's coming around this turn, sort of towards the camera, just watch his front legs. So as they get more engaged, um, and you can see he's a little faltery back there. Like it's like his
Mm,
legs are coming under him, but they're not really bending. They're not really wide. They're not really
mm.
pushing. But do you see how wide that front leg is reaching as he comes to the camera?
Yes. Yeah.
What that shows us is that he is more engaged and stable through his back and hind. Well, he's more engaged through his pelvis than his leg use is letting us know.
Hmm.
And the reason I say that is because the purpose of engagement and stabilizing the back is so that they can control their own body weight during motion.
Hmm.
Right? So with that long neck and heavy head, gravity's always pulling their weight forward and down. And they have to stabilize the spine, particularly the thoracolumbar spine, rib cage, and pelvis, and have that same muscle use to resist their own body weight falling forward with every stride. When they
Yeah.
do that and they start to take the weight off the front legs, that's what allows the front legs to widen and balance on a turn. And this is quite a wide swing as he comes through here. You can really see how he's stepping in
Yeah.
towards the circle. You see that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's kind of why the neck is to the outside. Because if you didn't give him the support with the outside rein, he would be kind of crashing in. If he were just being lunged, he would be crashing in,
Mm.
making the circle smaller and smaller. But with that
Yeah.
support
Yeah.
of the outside rein, even though his hind legs look stiff and not great, up higher, we know the pelvis is doing its job and the back is starting to work because he can widen his legs for the turn.
Mm.
Does that make
Mm.
sense? So they're definitely
Yeah.
lighter than they used to be, even though we
Mm.
can't really see that yet in the movement. That's just a
Yeah.
little
Yeah.
sign that he could not be that limber before because his front legs were so weight bearing.
Yes. Yeah.
So that's a
Yeah. It's
very
a
good
good sign,
sign.
hey?
And as the
Mm.
hindquarters are just sort of really slowly, steadily, one step at a time, it's like this back and hindquarter are gently, carefully plugging along. And then the front
Mm.
legs the shoulders are loosening up, the neck is lengthening, the front legs are widening. And then he gets a little thrown off on the hindquarter. And there you gave him outside rein. The neck to the outside is helping him stay engaged, and then
Mm.
he's loose enough, light enough on the front legs to actually really abduct with that left front leg. And it was just
Mm.
kind of an
Yeah.
obvious moment where you could really see it.
Yeah. Yeah. And his head's I mean it's not great there, but his head has lifted a little bit.
Yeah, out of long and low.
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
because that
By a
is the
smidgen.
point. Like long and low, when they're short-necked and high-headed, the opposite imbalance muscularly is long and low. And so
Mm.
that's usually the first transition. But when he was long and low on the straight lines, he was starting to lose forward and get kind of wobbly and stopping a lot again. And so
Mm.
that was kind of him telling us, okay, I've got the long and low thing, but I'm not stable there. So we
Mm.
needed more pelvic engagement to help him stabilize in long and low and be forward, have some
Yeah.
control, some stability, and some forward energy. So that's why we needed to switch him to the circles, is because he's now straight enough that he can lengthen the neck. He's no longer dropping the back so severely. But once he does lengthen his neck, he hasn't got the stability through the back and hindquarter to really control movement without those muscles shortening again and tightening. Does
Mm.
that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
So the long reins on the circle just helps sort of stabilize the skeleton a little bit more, which is how they learn to move with the muscles long and supple. That
Mm.
skeleton has to be pretty stable,
Yeah.
which is what I'm seeing. That's why I don't want to see the back rolling or the hindquarters tilting. It's like that top line, we should barely see it move with our eyeballs. Any other questions about him? Because I wouldn't change a thing from what you're doing. It's just a really nice check-in.
Mm. Yeah, no, I think it's all going well. Slowly but well.
Hmm.
That's all good. Yep.
And it's still going to be slow. And because with the
Oh
daylight,
yeah.
you're a little limited. It may be the whole winter, but he's
Yeah.
kind of he's kind of on the brink of
Mm.
where you're going to start getting days that he stops about half as much. And then
Mm.
closely after that, he'll stop half as much again. And then
Yeah.
he'll quit
Yeah.
stopping. And
Yeah.
once
And what
once
will
he can
awesome.
maintain forward, you can make a more accurate circle. Right now, you're doing a perfect job.
Yeah. Yeah. And what would be the signs that he's then ready for trot?
When he can walk on the circle without
Yeah.
halting once for
Yeah.
15, 15 to 20 consecutive minutes.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. So
Yep.
we're a long way off that.
Maybe not.
Okay.
Maybe not, because like kind of like you found with the treats and the brushing and the rug is if it's a little bit of a memory, there might be places in there where bumping him up to trot helps him figure out his coordination at the walk, but
Mm.
I wouldn't call it working on trot. It would be more sort of in the realm of uh, using trot as a tool, not really working on balance in the trot, but kind of using the trot to help him explore further
Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
and see if an upward transition doesn't kind of help him out with stabilizing his coordination at the walk.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you
Hmm.
probably need to go, yeah? How are we doing
Yes.
on
Yep.
time?
Yeah, I should probably go. Work will be waiting.
Okay.
Yep.
Any questions? Like, I would not change what you're doing. I would just look at it getting easier and smoother for him.
Mm.
And
Yeah, no, no questions.
are you doing one direction per session or are you changing directions every
No,
session?
I normally do both directions, half half. I didn't have my watch on that day, and then my phone was recording, so I didn't see the time. And then I think I took too long on this way, and then I finally turned around and only did a little bit the other way. But normally I'm a bit more balanced. I do kind of half half.
Why don't you try this for the next 2 weeks? Try doing all to the right on day one, only
Yeah,
to the left on the next training session.
okay.
So no matter how
Yeah,
much time you have,
do it
do
all one direction.
all one direction. And
Yeah.
after doing that, mm, I guess it would be 4 to 6 sessions, about
Mm.
3 times each. Sometimes staying on one direction can help them get the hang of it. If
Yeah,
he
okay.
if he
Yeah.
gets fatigued on that direction, he'll get worse by the end of the session on one direction. But if he
Hmm.
needs the time to just sort of organize the coordination, then staying on one direction for one whole session can really help them get it, and you'll get more forward
Yeah.
out of it.
Okay. If he is getting really fatigued, shall I then just change direction or just stop the session?
That's a good question. In his case, change direction because
Yeah.
ending early doesn't help him at all. It would be better
No.
to, yeah. And I would even, for at least one session each way, stick with it, even if he stops a lot. Don't change direction, just
Yeah.
one
Okay.
time, going
Yeah.
left and going right. And then
Mm-hmm.
on the second time you do one direction only, see what you feel. Use your
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
intuition.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that could lead to a really nice breakthrough for him because what I see is he gets the hang of it a little bit. When you went to the right, it was going in and out of difficulty for him, but he really
Mm,
ended well because you spent so much time to the other direction, the left, I guess.
mm. Yeah. 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 The left, it's funny. So the left, he walks funny, as in he's next to the outside and he kind of crab walks a bit, but
Mm.
he can go a bit longer without stopping. Whereas this way, he looks, I could be wrong, I'm not seeing it, but he looks a bit better, but he stops more often.
Yeah, so that is his injury on the right hind. When you go right,
Mm-hmm.
you're
Mm-hmm.
challenging the right hind in particular on a circle.
Yeah.
And so he's gonna complain a bit about that if it's hard for him or a bit uncomfortable. So it'll take a lot more pushing on your right circles. But that's why
Yeah.
I think if you hang with it for a whole session, he might have a bit
Mm.
of a breakthrough. And
Yeah.
then
Okay. Yep.
when you go left, the reason the neck is bent to the outside is because he doesn't want to use the right hind. It's the same
Mm.
issue both directions.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Yeah. And so eventually, circles to the right are the therapeutic restoration of his balance. Like that's where the work is really going to pay
Yeah.
dividends is on circles going to the right. But
Yeah. Okay. Yep.
we have to build up the comfort level for him little by little. And once he can maintain forward for a whole session to the right, you're on the other side of that challenging part of the rehab.
Mm. Yeah.
And he's almost there. Like at least he's comfortable enough to do a circle to the right.
Yeah. Yeah. And if he gets really uncomfortable, he just stops, like
Yeah, he's
plants his feet. So
he has learned that. And he gives you a look
yes,
like, I'm a
he
good
does.
boy. You don't
Yeah, he
really want
does.
to torture me. Yeah. But I think if he stops a lot on the circles, rather than ending the session to the right, maybe walk behind him and continue the circle-ish shape that way,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
make it a
Yeah.
square. hmm
Yeah.
But I think
Hmm.
getting him to keep moving to the right, like sometimes they're stopping not because it's uncomfortable as much as it's unfamiliar. Like they suddenly kind of
Mm.
feel like I don't know how to walk anymore. And so it's just a lack
Yeah.
of familiar use of the leg that can make them a little hesitant to move forward. It's not
Hmm.
necessarily pain or fatigue or discomfort, it's just awkwardness.
Yeah. And quite often, because I normally do, I go to the right first. Normally, I did it the other way around today at this time, but I normally go the right first and then to the left. And when we go to the left, about halfway through, he then starts to stop where we normally stop, as if, okay, that's enough now. I-
Yeah,
I'd like to go back to my paddock.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think if you can hang with him, I think before now, if he looked fatigued, you were better off stopping.
Hmm.
That may still be true, so follow your intuition more than my advice, but keep in
Hmm.
the back of your mind that he's really starting to show some changes where a little bit of working through some of those sticky spots might
Mm.
help him make a change that gives him a breakthrough.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's kind of like horses don't know what's on the other side of what we're asking for until they feel it. And he's
Yeah.
very close to really finding a new level of comfort in his movement, but we
Hmm.
we don't want to cause discomfort to get there, so it's
Mm.
tedious. But
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
encouraging him or hanging with him, even if he's stopping a lot right now, I just get the feeling that that would be more helpful now than it would have been
Mm,
in the past.
yeah.
I think he
Yeah.
can do it.
Yeah. Okay. Sounds like a plan. That's what I'll do.
Okie doke.
Lovely.
All
Awesome. All
right.
right. Well, thank you. And I'll see you in a fortnight, huh?
Okie dokes. Yep. So that would be, hang on, let me just make sure I have the right date. July 10th. Yep.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Yep.